A very special edition of Sunday at 9. For the first time ever, we're rebroadcasting a conversation that I had with Ronnie Van Zant shortly after the release of the Lynyrd Skynyrd album, Give Me Back My Bullets. And as I recall, Ronnie had just gotten back from Europe at the time, and he and his dad were in New York. He had taken his father on the road with the band to Europe, and they had a great time. And we sat down and kind of passed a bottle of Jack's around and talked about Lynyrd Skynyrd. And it was really a good insight into the band up to that point. And it was one of many opportunities I had to interview Ronnie Van Zant. And unfortunately, this was the last time that we sat down and ever did a full-fledged interview. So join us now as a tribute to one of the great rock and roll bands, Lynyrd Skynyrd. We rebroadcast a conversation with Ronnie Van Zant featuring much of the music we discuss. And we're WLIR-FM at 92.7 in stereo.
11 times I've been in jail. I'm not bragging about that at all. But and one time, Gary and I was just having a little bit of drunken fun on the bar, and they put us in jail for public intoxication. And while we was sitting there, we didn't have nothing to do except wait for somebody to get us out, We was just sitting there, and I said, Gary, how many times you been put in jail? He's 2 or 3 times, I guess. I said, what? I was counting them up. This is 11 times I've been there. He said, you're just double trouble, Ronnie. You're just... There you go. There you go. We'll write a song about that. But before we could get this thing released, I got thrown in jail for protecting Billy Powell, the keyboard player. And actually, I should change the words when I sing it loud now. Instead of starting it off 11 times I've been busted, I should say 12 times I've been busted. Gary, Alan, and myself, the 2 guitar players that are with us, and myself, started back at the end of this year, 1976. We'll be 12 years. And we just played pubs and clubs, and for about, 8, 9 years. And we finally were playing a club in Atlanta, Georgia, called Finocchio's, where we ran into a gentleman called Al Cooper from New York, who was real knocked out over the band. And we didn't have anything going for us, no record deals or anything, but Al really loved the band, and he just signed with MCA to form his own company, Sounds of the South Records, and he asked us to go with him. And at the time, we didn't have anything else going for us, so we took it, And later on, MCA, Al signed a lot of groups for his label, and none of them went well, except us. So MCA company dropped Sounds of the South, eliminated them and eliminated all the groups, and then snatched us up and carried us straight to their label, their major label.
I guess the question to go with the first album is a song, and if I remember correctly, the last time we talked, which was quite a few years ago, quite a lot of records in between, I remember asking you about Freebird. And I remember at the time you said to me something like, wow, you know how long we've been doing that song? Well, I'm sure you're still doing it, and it's quite a lot longer than the last time. And tell me about the song. How did it come about, and how long have you really been doing it?
We've actually been doing that particular song. I can't think exactly when we wrote it, but I know it was at least 7 to 8 years ago. And Alan Collins, the guitar player, wrote it. And he wanted to write it. First of all, we was writing it as a slow song, a pretty song. And I was doing the singing, the slow part and all. And then Alan came up with the idea of changing the tempo right in the middle of where it's slow, just to come up with an accent that would lead it up, and then to build a rhythm pattern that would be just free form for a guitar player to play, And he designed all the guitar work and all the rhythm section, all the music, and I just wrote the lyrics, which is the simplest thing in the world. And we started playing it in clubs and all, and back 7 or 8 years ago, like I said, it didn't work too much. They wanted to hear Knock on Wood and Midnight Hour and stuff, and And we would play that song in clubs, and because they said it wasn't a good dance song, we'd get a lot of boos on it, and things thrown at us and turn it down and all that. But when you play in a club, you play usually 4 sets a night, 4 45-minute sets a night. So instead of throwing the song away because it wasn't so successful, we kept it for one reason, that we'd play through it at least twice a night, which would give the singer, give myself a little bit of breather, you know. And we had taped it once, like just over what you got right here. And it sounded pretty good to us. So when Al Cooper did sign us and we went to Atlanta to record, we decided to show him the song. You know, he had heard us play it in the clubs before, and we decided to see what it would sound like on record, you know, and worked out really fine. Is that song for some reason? I don't know the reason, but I guess it's just because it's got such a high energy thing at the end, and it's very simple. It's a very simple song. I've talked to other musicians about it. It'd be really hard for us to work out, but if they can count to 4, they can play that song. And it's just a number of changes that you count so many changes, and then you change and make it faster. And Alan, because he designed it, just runs it, and it's worked so much that we've never been able to write a song that would come up with as much energy and get the people off as much as that song is. So we must end up with it, you know, because if we play it the first song, then we can't have that much energy the rest of the set, you know what I mean?
Looking back at the first album, what other songs come to mind that you can think about in their recording and such?
I definitely think that the first album was the best. Myself, there's other members in the group that disagree. Some of them like Second Helping the best. Everyone in the band just about agreed that Nothing Fancy was probably our poorest showing, but it was simply because the record companies were putting so much pressure on us that we didn't have time to really sit down and think about it. And now with this album, there's much more enthusiasm over this album than there is the first one. But I think the first album had better selection of material, much more variety. And the reason for that is 8 years of club work, and we had a lot more time to think about it, you know. So when we got a chance to do our first album, we had 20 songs that we recorded and just picked 8, you know, that we thought would work. And when we did that, we brought in other people such as the Learn Rhythm section and other musicians that we thought was good friends of ours and that would give us a true opinion, and that's how we threw the 8 songs, and fortunately it worked. We did our first album, we had 20 songs to choose from, and we picked 8 to go on the first one, pronounced Skynyrd, and several songs, with the exception of a couple like Alabama and Working for MCA, which were newer songs. Basically, it was drawn from the songs we didn't use on the first album. And we had a lot of material to think of at the time. But when it came down to Nothing Fancy, MCA said they wanted the album, and Peter Rudge came to us and said, I gotta have an album. And we just came off of a tour. We was very tired, and we went into the studio. We had no idea what we was going to do. We had nothing planned out. So it was just a matter of staying in there almost 24 hours a day and trying to write songs, you know. And consequently, and just speaking for the group, the whole group think that this probably was our worst showing, but I won't argue with gold, you know.
Sweet Home Alabama was the first hit single. And you wrote that, as I've read, based on a song that Neil Young did entitled Alabama. Was that sort of just a comical answer to what Neil did?
Exactly. It was... I just did an interview, and I just told them, too, that Alabama, on Second Helping, we came up like a song short, and so we put Alabama together. Really, that's what happened. This just happened, a spur of a moment thing. It took exactly about 8 hours to write, and we just started from scratch and just had fun with the song. And when Second Helping came out, we never decide which song will be the single because we're not capable of doing that. People like Ray who knows the the business a lot more. We'll know what's going to happen on radio. We don't. And so the first choice to come off the second album was a song called Don't Ask Me No Questions, which I thought would be very much commercial, and it didn't work. And so many months later, as a last resort to help pick the album back up, they stuck out Alabama, and which picked the album up very much, and it was a hit. And they put it out that it might do well in the South, you know, and especially it might do well in Alabama because, you know, they would say, well, somebody's sticking up for us after somebody's put us down. But they'd done well all over the country. We were very surprised about that.
Nothing fancy when you did it. It was a rush thing, like, let's get it done real fast.
We recorded it, we mixed it, we did it all within 20-something days, which is a long time. They used to do albums in one session, you know, but we're not capable of doing that, and I don't think many groups nowadays are. But yeah, it was a real rush job, and really rushed. It was mixed poorly, and wasn't the best thing that we ever put out at all. But there were some good spots on it, I thought. But
what were they?
Well, I thought Saturday Night Special we put out was done really well, although I don't know, that might just been a follow-up from Alabama, you know. Over here, in England and over in Europe, this album was respected as much as our first one, you know, so it's just a matter of opinion, really. But as speaking for the group, we just thought if we hadn't had that much pressure on us at the time, we could have done. We didn't have 20 songs to choose from at that time. As soon as we finished these, that's the album. You
So
know?
finishing the third album, was it once again out on the road and do some more touring? Or did you have time to sort of sit back and reflect and work on a fourth album? And of course, Give Me Back My Bullets.
The latest one, we did take much more time. To tell you the truth, not as much time as we'd like. But in this business, I can't name you too many groups who do get enough time to do that, because you just got to keep doing it or the public will forget you, you know.
What was it like recording this time under a more relaxed situation?
This was the most pleasant album that we've ever did. Usually we have a lot of arguments, and it's not because of the reputation of Lynyrd Skynyrd. If you go into any session with a group, there's going to be arguments, you know. And people are just going to get mad because they can't get a part right or something, and they want to stay with it, and they're wasting time. And working with Tom Dowd, he never let any pressure get to us. Well, for one thing, he never allowed people in the studio. You know, he never allowed no one in there. Because when you come to work, I want you here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you come ready to work, don't bring you no chips with you, you know. And if you bring your bottle, you wait for a while till you start drinking. You know, you're going to do it exactly the way I do it. Because he said, he made it very perfectly clear to us, and he didn't need us, and he don't need anybody. And if we wanted to do the album, we'd do it the way he wanted to do it. He wouldn't mess with our music, but he would take control of us and get the best out of us. And he very definitely done that. And it's probably, I think maybe we've got more commercial stuff on it than anything that we ever did before. But doing the album was just a great time. Never once did I feel any pressure. There's several songs. Every Mother's Son. I got the same old blues Joe J. Kill song. Roll Gypsy Roll. I did that the first shot, and I just went in while the band was playing. We're using not a special mic, which they usually use to get a great quality on. You know, when you get ready to do a vocal part, they figure out what type of voice you're in that day, and then figure out what mic to use on you. And I just used any old hand mic, and Tom went with it, you know, just the pilot vocal, what we call the pilot vocal, because he said it had a lot of feel, you know. He said he felt that I sang better while the whole group was playing instead of going out there by myself, you know, and after everything was done. You know.
The songs.
Okay, I can see Cry for the Bad Man, which was written I won't give his name because he might make a gentleman we did business with one time, and he really messed us over. He cost us a lot of money, and he was a money miser, and he treated us real bad. And finally we got out from under contracts with him, and so I figured to write a song about him, and that's the crack of the band. Now, all I can do is write about it in a song is about where we live. There's, it's really pretty there. And still, you got Okefenokee Swamp, and you got Everglades and all that stuff. But in the song, I say that I can see the concrete slowly creeping, and that means that the business, for instance, us people from Florida really don't consider Miami to be part of Florida anymore. And I can see that they're just going to build a Holiday Inn in the Okefenokee Swamp one day. And all I'm saying in this song is, Lord, take me in mind before that comes, because I don't want to see it happen, Leave it be this beautiful, beautiful place and don't bother. I try to write about places I've seen, things that I've done, normal things that you've done, really, or things that you know about. And I think if you write it really simple, then you can reach more people that way, because more people's going to understand what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you, you are suffering from jet lag, as you mentioned earlier. You've just completed a European tour. You're about to set out again to conquer the United States. It must be pretty rough going like that from day to day, all this touring, and you're really a touring band, because it gets you after a while.
Yeah, we get on edge all the time. We get a lot of publicity about busting that place and being really mean or something like that, but you just get really tired, you get really nervous, and you're about to just flip out and go over the deep end and just say, the hell with it, I quit. Well, instead of doing that, we just knock a hole in the wall, or any way to let energy off, settle down, and once we do that, we get it out of our system. And, we get a lot of publicity about that, the Who do. But I know a lot of bands, I won't mention their names, that do a lot worse than both of the groups I just mentioned, but they don't get the publicity about it, All of them do it, It's a way to let it off. It's also a tax write-off.
Tell me, in closing, what are your future recording plans, especially in light of all that touring?
Within the next 3 months, we will be doing a live album. A live one, which is what we've been waiting for a long time. And we're looking very forward to that. Tom Dowd is going to do that. We're going to do it in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to do it at Fox Theater, a small place where we can get a really good sound. We're going to rehearse for 3 days with Tom and all the people that we're going to use with us to do it live. Then we're going to do 1 week of playing in Atlanta at the Fox and pick the best of what we got. In other words, we're not going to make no money off no live album. We spend a lot on doing it, but I think if you're going to make a live album, you should do it like the Allman Brothers did live at the Fillmore East or something. Very few live albums sound good, but Mr. Dowd is very, very good at doing live stuff, and we got the best people behind us. We got the best record company. We got the best producer. We got the best manager. As far as I'm concerned, I think I got one of the best bands behind me, and it's just going to be a lot of fun doing it.
Sure sounds it. Listen, thanks a lot, and best of luck, Ronnie.